Hello ladies and gentlemen. The Menkaure Pyramid is the smallest pyramid of the three Giza pyramids. It is off-center from the other two, much larger pyramids. The Menkaure Pyramid was supposedly built by King Menkaure, who lived 2450 BC. It is only 1/10 the volume of the Giza Pyramid, and unlike the Great Pyramid, works seem to have abruptly stopped for an unknown reason. Herodotus tells the legend that Menkaure's predecessors, Cheops and Khephren, probably synonymous with Khufu and Khafre, were brutal, merciless and oppressive, enslaving Egyptians to build the pyramids. Yet they both lived very long lives, to the absolute horror of the Egyptian population. But Menkaure, whom Herodotus calls Mykerinus, their successor, despaired at his physical frailty and sickness, and complained that although he had been kind to the people and not oppressive unlike his predecessors, he was cursed by the gods. Since an oracle forecast a short life for him, he supposedly built a much smaller pyramid. That's what the legend was at the time of the classical Greeks. Now, perhaps this legend explains some of what is going on archaeologically, because we see that the outer casing stones of the Menkaure Pyramid are apparently unfinished, possibly caused by Menkaure's early death. Number 1. Now, this is a great example of how archaeology can easily get it wrong in the present day. Once books start to copy each other, suddenly everyone has it wrong down the generations. For example, there is a huge gash in the Menkaure Pyramid, and if you look this up anywhere, you will see it written that in 1193, Saladin's son, Al-Malek Al-Aziz Ottoman ben Yusuf, attempted to demolish the pyramids, starting with the Menkaure Pyramid. It is written that the workmen found it almost as expensive to destroy as it would have been to build. So they stayed at their job for 8 months and then walked away. Now, apparently this was done in an effort to dismantle the pyramids, which were seen as possibly iconoclastic symbols of God, pagan effigies which had to go. And this is the reason that archaeologists buy into, but it is not the reason. You're going to hear the reason, because I don't buy that. Now, they might have told the people they were demolishing the pyramids, but you can see by the excavation works that what they were actually trying to do was look for treasure, look for an entrance, and this is what we're going to prove right now. This is so number 1, the so-called demolition work seems centered around what would have been an entrance to the pyramid, if this was, say, the Great Pyramid. Yet this pyramid has no internal shafts, merely an underground shaft. So you will notice the gash proceeds up and down as if they are looking for a centrally located entrance. And they are looking for an entrance because you will notice the gash is above the existing entrance to the subterranean area. So they are very clearly looking for another entrance. That's not really demolition work. It's looking for an entrance. Unless they were hunting for treasure, I guess, to fund the demolition, but you will notice that they stopped as soon as they couldn't find the entrance. So much for being a demolition. So, and I have some more evidence for this. Again, I go back to the Arabian Nights. Arabian Night 298, which I've already referred to several times in previous videos, claims that this pyramid, and not the other two, contains 30 internal chambers full of treasure. So that is why these guys picked this particular pyramid to work on first, because it was not because it was small and easy to demolish, but because it was held to be full of treasure. That's why you do things, treasure, right? So these guys were obviously actually treasure hunters, and the official version of the history doesn't mention this. Number 2, this was traditionally called the Coloured Pyramid. The third pyramid was traditionally known as the Coloured Pyramid by the Arabs. The other two pyramids are both white, covered in white limestone from a nearby quarry where there was a village called Tura. But this pyramid is different. It was supposed to be pink, it seems, or even multicoloured. Instead of being covered with a white limestone, it was covered, it seems, with pink granite. Very odd indeed, a much harder stone to work with. possibly why work was, it seems, abandoned. Why make it so hard for themselves? Why use granite? Unless Giza was some kind of representation of something else. Now, the reason he chose to build a smaller pyramid is indirectly explained by Herodotus as his mercy to the Egyptians, and yet he chooses to use granite. I have to say also that these outer casings are much more pre-Inca than the other two pyramids, so Menkore definitely had some contact with Peru, which is useful for us, because if Menkore was indeed the builder, you can obviously see that you can use the date of Menkore to also date the Inca walls in Peru to at least Menkore's time, making the walls not Inca, not 1000 AD or 1300 AD, but the 2500s BC. You could make a case using conventional archaeology to say that the Inca walls are therefore Menkore's time of the 2500s BC. But actually I think they're a lot earlier, then again who knows. Number 3, there was a sarcophagus found underneath the Menkore pyramid, which today no longer exists. Now this is just astounding. You see, in the 19th century, the infamous Colonel Vyse of England, the same man who, according to Zechariah Sitchin and others, forged Khufu's name inside the Great Pyramid, discovered this. Now, he forced his way underneath the Menkore pyramid to the subterranean chamber, and this is what he found. This drawing survives. He then put it on a ship to England because he said the sarcophagus would simply be destroyed if he left it where it was. Now, that ship sank during a storm. That sarcophagus is gone. Now, I've seen online conspiracy theories that have popped up saying, hang on, Vyse was a dodgy character in alternate archaeology circles, so maybe the ship never existed. Maybe because it's never been located by salvagers, or maybe it did exist but never sank and it landed somewhere else and unloaded its cargo. Perhaps even the ship changed its name. Maybe Vyse sent the sarcophagus elsewhere. Who knows? Now, from surviving pictures, people have said, hang on, this sarcophagus is very different to the Khufu sarcophagus, which is blank. And since the pyramids are blank, therefore this sarcophagus doesn't belong in the pyramid, so it must have been put in by later people. I'm not convinced of that, but it seems to be carved with motifs and other inscriptions, so it must come apparently from a different period. People say it corresponds in style to the Saite period. This was the final dynasty of independent ancient Egypt, before they became dominated by foreign dynasties and other rulers. Personally, I think it's really hard to tell because you see the Saite dynasty, like every other dynasty, copied elements of all the other prior dynasties. It seems kings made their objects and art look like that of previous generations as a form of legitimacy of their rule. So that Egyptian art somehow stayed, for this reason, stayed the same for thousands and thousands of years, and so did the writing, because it looks back to an earlier age. Honestly, I think the sarcophagus might even be real, and also that the Menkore pyramid was possibly built long after the other two, and we will get to evidence for this in future videos, so do stay tuned. Now, keep watching, subscribe, and hit that bell, guys, because I have such a backlog of things to share with you guys, as well as more conventional videos like this, that it just defies all comprehension. So, I've got so much to put out there. Unbelievable stuff.